All right, we're back here.
This is modeled on Courbet's painting, which is
The artist in his studio, right?
Yeah, a very real allegory of 12 years of my studio practice. So this is the, a completely unreal allegory of, at no point in my life. So it's, I'm working out the title, but it's obviously going to be very closely related to that, and it's definitely modeled on his painting. And so ultimately, it's sort of like a failed thing, and I stopped working on it last summer and just had it rolled up and was carrying it around and had it in my apartment and just never thought I'd come back to it. But ultimately, it started to get this quality of being like an old, destroyed canvas, and it's actually just paper. So I started to go back into it. And
well, that's one of the things I love about art and painting and things like that, is that you can start out on something and the intentions might change over time, but there's also a kind of a narrative of the production of the piece. It's actually kind of intriguing and interesting to watch as these, some of the older pieces change and evolve, and they actually get better, if you ask me. They get layers and layers of meaning and references and other things.
I was trying to sand this thing off. I was just going to sand
it looks like it was kind of
I was going to sand the whole
worn down a little bit.
Yeah, I bought a belt sander, and I was in the process of erasing it, and it started to get this quality of like, well, it really does look like a canvas under here. And so I just sort of stopped, and there'll be some more notes, sort of taped to it that, comment not only on the scene, but also on the painting itself, and like sort of blaming someone else for it, or, linking it to this other kind of narrative, which leads to this one, which is underway. There's going to be a sort of those dry erase marker boards here.
Sure.
With various notes and things going back and forth. These are all notes to like these fictional assistants, this army of people, and they're really sort of bad ideas and problems and things that need to get done.
Sort of like if you were the super successful artist with
so like
crews of assistants dealing with things, and you'd have your secretary send these notes out for you.
Because my friend John, who's helping me out right now, is doing some of these sort of underpaintings. It's funny because he was an art handler, and he went to Dan Colan's studio in Canal Street, and there was an army of people just working. He wasn't doing a thing, he was just off hanging out, and we were having a laugh at that once you get to a certain level, you're not really making anything anymore. I don't know if this is going to make it in the show, but it is.
You really got a thing for the Dash Snow in that article. It was in the New York magazine. Huh? That
got me.
Set you over the edge, huh?
A little bit. And,
does kind of represent all of the worst of the New York art glamour idea.
Yeah,
and
it really does. It's not, at the beginning of the article, or at one point in the article, they're saying, Dash turned his back on all this wealth and his family name and all this stuff, and yet,
that's what they keep talking about, right?
He was sort of discovered walking down the street with, like, some famous, artist or filmmaker's kid, and it's like, that doesn't happen to, normal
Joe Schmo, who doesn't have access to those kinds of people.
And I know so many artists who are doing really great work, and I applaud them, and they're so serious and earnest, about doing it for the right reasons and waiting. They don't care if they ever achieve any sort of like recognition in their life. They just want to keep making work. It's noble, but when you got somebody like Dash Snow plastered on the cover of New York Magazine and defining, what the New York art world is.
And I think his greatest piece was ejaculating on a cover of Daily News, and then framing that and calling this like the greatest masterpiece of the 21st century, and actually 90% of the New York intelligentsia going along with him and saying, "That's fabulous, that's great, we love this."
That's also part parody of the sort of first article that came out on Leo Koenig in the New Yorker magazine.
Right. Yeah, I remember.
Fantastic. Like, that was such a good. Like, it was straightforward. It wasn't trying to make fun of him. It was just his life was so ridiculous that it was, completely absurd. And I'd been thinking about that leading up to this, and then the Dash Snow piece came out, and I was like, oh my God, it's like it gets worse, So I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with the art world.
So what a lot of this is about is it's a critique of the current kind of glamorous art milieu that that we're all sort of having to live with and deal with, and for the good or bad of it, you're sort of critiquing it and you know, poking this back in their face and showing them how absurd a lot of this really is, by being even more absurd.
At its best, I think that's what this can do.
Now, you were talking about some people who were getting kind of worried about whether this might offend people. You know, some people out in the real art world that might be able to help your career and might be able to, you know, do things for you. They might get a little...
well, I've already pissed off Zach.
Pissed.
He hates me and, you know, sent me a...
Yeah, but he knows who you are, right?
Yeah, he knows who I am, and I'm sort of like his thorn in his side, you know, his little nemesis out there. You know, I'm not, you know, there's not going to be paparazzi at my opening. I'm not, you know...
well,
I'm not,
I'll be there.
So, yeah, well, you know, James Kalm, you know, will be there. But, you know, he's legitimately mad. And as a consequence of, like, the hex drawing I did and the letter to him and the letter to Dana, you know, Schroeder Romero may or may not have gotten kicked out of Nada. You know, can't say that for 100%, but, you know, shortly after that thing was done, they were invited back to a fair that they were founding members of. Well, I actually had to take somebody out of the list.
You had to take somebody off the list?
Somebody off the list because she's so relatively inconsequential that it doesn't really warrant being there. Yet, you know, she's somebody that, you know...
Gesundheit.
I also felt that it was the idea of, like, self-censorship would, you know, who is this? Where are they? You know, like... Who
this was the person that was removed?
Sort of removed and...
the ghost of someone, someone passed.
So it's kind of like this, who could it be? So I like that idea of it, and so, you know...
I guess that's really bad. It's like you're not even bad enough to get on the badass list.
Yeah, you're not even bad enough. You're just you're nobody. You know, you should. I was like, no. Parker exists.
This is the piece that you had published.
Just came out. It's not even out in stores yet.
So we can go down and buy this at Barnes and Noble, or?
No, it's a small run. We did 1,000 books, so we're gonna try to get it in the stores on consignment and work through some independent distributors like Last Gas and some other places. But it's, you know, you can see every single...
Beautifully done.
Yeah, voice.
Have you had anybody else threaten you lately with beatings or anything? I know that after the Miami's Enemies list came out last year, and you got...
Tatiana's husband.
Yeah, you got some press on that on the cover of the art newspaper down there, that you had people that weren't too happy with you and threatened to kick your ass or
I'm sure. I'm probably
slap you down.
I'm probably going to have to fight some people at some point, but I prefer not to.
You taking your kickboxing classes and all that stuff, getting ready? Or you just going to
just get drunk when I go
fall
out.
into a fetal position? And
I'll probably be trashed. It won't matter. I'll wake up with a bruise. It's beautifully designed. I mean, the designer Stephen hand drew each line of each path for the text.
Wow.
And so they got that handwriting font, and
the works on panel are easier for the collectors to consider. I mean, do they take it more seriously than a work on paper?
You know, it's funny. I mean, it's a combination of things. It's a really simple reason. You know, I was out in Seattle. One of the dealers looked at me and goes, "If you do those same things on a panel, I can charge twice as much." And I was like,
"Oh,
are you shitting me?" You know, and it was just kind of like this joke. You know, so actually, one of the paintings I've been sort of working. I'm trying to get it right. You know, it's just sort of a declarative painting saying, you know, I'm a painting. I'm now worth twice as much. One of the things that I'll be, you know, there will be a painting about why you should buy the painting. There'll be sort of manifesto
reasons to buy the painting, huh? I am a fucking genius. Okay, someone else is going to immediately improve their collection, right? Okay. Those are all good reasons. I think we've pretty much covered a lot of this stuff, and I just wanted to thank you for letting us come by and visit your studio, and we're going to make sure we make it to the opening.
Yes, please.
And
it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for letting us sort of see your work in progress.
Yeah, no problem.
This is James Kalm, and we're coming to you from the studio of William Powhida here in North 3rd Street in Williamsburg. Go ahead, you can say it.
Williamsburg. No. I gotta get out of here.
Bye-bye.
I'll talk to you soon, Lauren.
All right, good luck.
Forward you that email tonight.
Sounds good.